new about them. Everything else is relatively old. Hosting Steph Curry and the Warriors. Let's pick it up early, and LeBron James looking comfortable and young on the defensive end.
Father Time hasn't found him yet. The rotation and the send back.
Look at him coming over on the defensive side, and then Timmy Legs, Anthony Davis on the flush.
Yeah, reminding people when he's healthy why this is one of the toughest matchups in the league. Size and athleticism, too much for the front line of Golden State.
And how about LeBron, Doris, in the painted area?
Yeah, that mid-range is so good because he gets separation on the lean back.
LeBron 18 in the first half, Lakers by 6 at the break. Now we're playing defense and we're running the floor, and it's Anthony Davis, Timmy with the slam.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of this year. Obviously, LeBron, AD out in the open floor. You're going to end up with this kind of result most of the time.
Yeah, how about that result? We have liftoff. Anthony Davis would score 33, LeBron 34. They're in mid-season form. Lakers by 2 going to the fourth. But that quarter, Doris, would belong to Jordan Poole.
He had 16, and when he got going in the second half, that's when the game changed.
Russell Westbrook, we'll talk about him in a moment, never quite got comfortable last night. Did not have double figures in any of the major categories, points, assists, or rebounds. Meanwhile, here's more from Poole on the hezzy. He had 20. Warriors pulling away. Steph Curry, if you can have this, Timmy Legler, he had a quiet triple-double.
He did. I thought, actually, the Lakers did a phenomenal job hounding him all night. He played in traffic the entire game, but he just stayed with it, and even when he's not scoring, this is what he does. He draws people, and it makes the game easier for others.
That's Andrew Wiggins knocking down a dagger. Warriors come from behind and win it on the road, 121-114. Steph, let's talk.
It is interesting playing a team that's brand new with, their high upside and, the names that they have over there. It's hard to really kind of measure like what the rest of the season is going to look like based on, one game. But we focus on what we're doing. I like where we're at.
Better offense beats great defense anytime. And they did a great job of executing their offense. So you got to get them credit. Get back in the film, get back on the floor on Thursday. See ways we can get better as a team, as individuals. And then get back on the floor on Friday versus another tough test.
So we'll get a little work done on the AV system out there at Staples, but that's a different conversation for a different time. What are they going to do about the offense? So this is the first time ever that Davis and LeBron play together. They each score 30 and their team loses, which begs the question, where is Russell Westbrook going to fit in here?
Yeah, I said to you guys before the show, I said at no point in the next 8 months is Russell Westbrook going to be in rhythm. I mean, he might even lose his ability to dance. That's what I was thinking as I'm watching the game. I say, because look, he's never been third. Right, he's been first when KD left OKC. He's been first in Washington. He was second guy in Houston and second next to KD. This is different. LeBron is their point guard for all intents and purposes. Anthony Davis gets a lot of the offense run through him. So where does that leave Russell Westbrook? It leaves him as a guy trying to find his mark offensively. Look, we know he's going to make all those plays that we're going to talk about, the energy plays, the rebounding. He's a guy that plays with relentless passion. We get all that. But in terms of his own offensive rhythm, I think he's going to post career lows in field goal percentage, free throw percentage, three-point percentage, you name it. And so how does that affect him? And it's going to be a work in progress for him to understand how does Frank Vogel find more opportunities for him to be an alpha so he can look like himself. Because last night he just looked like he was constantly kind of getting out of the way and then taking shots he probably didn't even want to take just to participate offensively. And that's just not going to work for him.
So they'll spend the season figuring that out. Meanwhile, Doris, you were telling us in the meeting this morning, the one player you have your eye on in L.A. is the guy who you think could become the most dominant player maybe in the whole league.
Well, he's got top 5 skills, Anthony Davis. Let's remember he missed 36 games a season ago with that calf and the Achilles. But when he's engaged and he's healthy and he's getting to every aspect of his game, he's as problematic as any player in the league. Why? Because you can play him out of the post. He can take a guy one-on-one. You guard him small, he's just going to shoot over the top. He can put it on the deck. He did regress last year as a shooter, and obviously the missed time played a part in the Lakers' downfall, but this guy is a top 5 talent. And as long as he and LeBron are at the level they were at last night, you saw what the Lakers can be. They're going to put a ton of pressure on you with their size and with their transition game, and I think Russ will figure it out. He'll have the ball less often, and when he does have it, he's going to have to move it faster. But those two guys make him formidable nonetheless.
Quickly as we start, despite the loss, are the Lakers, in your view, the team to beat in the West?
No, believe it or not, I think the Utah Jazz are going to finish first again in the West. Now, what happens in the playoffs is a different thing, but the Utah Jazz are going to have a great year.
Going into the year, I say the Lakers, but I knew all along it's going to take them time. Ask it again in 6 weeks, but I think just on paper, once they get their cohesion figured out offensively, I do think this is a team that still has LeBron James on it and looks like he's 25 years old still. I favor the Lakers.
It is a lot of new faces on what is the oldest roster in the NBA. Meanwhile, the other game last night, another fascinating one with the stars on display. We got Giannis and the Bucks. You got the rings. Doris, what do you think?
Jeff, so understated as usual.
very laid back on all that. Meanwhile, Giannis looking so good early, Doris.
Well, listen, Giannis Antetokounmpo as a downhill force is devastating. This, I think, is going to improve drastically this year. Walk-up three. Do you want him taking a ton? No, but he is unleashed.
And how about him on the defensive end, Timmy Legler? Watch him here.
Just unbelievable, the ground he covers. And, first of all, there are a lot of star players that wouldn't even have tried to make that play because if you get there late, you get your feelings hurt. And he goes up and it shows you no complacency setting in on the part of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Kevin Durant sort of kept the Nets in this in the third quarter. He had 13 in the third alone, and the Bucks had a 12-point lead, but then just Giannis unstoppable in the fourth, Doris.
They're getting into the paint, those long strides, the Euro steps. He covers so much ground.
And then here again on Blake Griffin.
So easy. And look, the Nets are going to play small lineups. Giannis is a problem for them. Claxton doesn't have the physical strength to play him. Giannis really played to his strengths, and that's why he puts up a monster stat line.
Yeah, Giannis 32 points, 14 rebounds. Bucks get a comfortable win, and it is going to take a little time here, we would figure, for the Nets to figure out what they are, because no one even knows what they are based on the Kyrie of it all. But how much do you read into one night where these two teams, which we think are the best in the East, go head-to-head, and it is as one-sided as it was?
They're in vastly different places right now, right? There are only three well-oiled machines coming into the season, and obviously the Bucks are the top of the list because they won a championship. They're healthy. They did lose P.J. Tucker, but they added Grayson Allen. So for the most part, stayed intact. You could say the same thing probably about the Phoenix Suns, and you could say the same thing probably about the Utah Jazz. Doris, I'm glad you brought them up. Everybody else has so much to figure out, and the Nets are at the top of the list. And look, their defense is going to be something we'll talk about all year. What they're counting on is eventually, if you have Kyrie Irving in the mix, they're so good on the other end with the greatest collection of offensive talent at the top of any roster in the history of this league that it makes up for all those defensive mistakes because the other team's taking the ball to the net all night. That's what they're counting on. And they're not there right now. So they're going to be figuring themselves out as well, much like the Lakers are. But the Bucks are in a different place. This is just an extension of where they finished off. They looked pretty darn good last night. Anybody doubting them, I think maybe take a second look again.
We're undervaluing the champs.
Yes.
They walk different, they feel different, and I think they're better. Last night they spent the first half switching, then they got out of switching. So they're already navigating some things defensively, trying to figure it out. They have found Nwora, who I think is a legit add on the wing. His ability to score the basketball, he had 15. You have Brook Lopez, who, as Stan Van Gundy pointed out last night, this is a guy who came into the league being maligned as a defensive player, known as an offensive player. The rim protection by the Bucks is absolutely dynamic between Giannis and Brook. I think they're going to be great defensively. The champs are being undervalued. I think they win the East.
How about Giannis? Just the performance, we wondered, would there be any hangover? Would there be any celebration? He certainly looked in midseason.
He's that rare breed of guy. He doesn't want to just be an MVP, which he's done. He doesn't just want to be a champion. He wants to be one of the greatest players to ever do it. And that's what drives him. He's still going to win every sprint in practice. He's still the first guy in the weight room. He's not going to let that seep into that locker room. They've got great connection and chemistry amongst each other to their coaching staff. And most importantly now, they know they took that thing across the finish line. There are no more doubts. They know they can rise when the lights get turned up. And that's such a great feeling now to come into the season in that place. I think this team's going to have their foot on the gas again. There's not going to be any take the regular season lightly. They're going to try to be the number one seed in the East.
They served notice last night. We will have much more from these two, including their